Welcome back. All right, so every now and then I get the request of, "Hey, what does THG think of certain goal horns?" And I went through yesterday. I was like, I can rate these 1 through 32, and I listened to the tracks. I did find the video, which gets through all 32 teams and all that, and I will link to that video in the description. So if you guys want to make up your own list, you can. But yeah, so 1 through 32. Let's go ahead and jump in. And for people who watched last year's, it's going to be different in that I could argue for these ones to be at the bottom. I could argue the top 10, and then I just put the other ones into tiers. I don't care enough about goal horns slash goal songs. So here we go, number 32, and people talk a lot about how much they like "Don't You Forget About Me" for Vancouver. I don't, and I'm not going to. That's not going to change. Holiday was the best goal song they had by Green Day, and it's obviously a newer song than "Don't You Forget About Me," which isn't an overly happy song either. But at any rate, yeah, the Vancouver Canucks at the bottom of the list this year. At number 31, Nashville. I talked about this the last time I did a video on this. I'm not a fan of country music. I know that it transitions from a country song into something else. I know it transitions from "I like it, I love it, I want more of it" to whatever. But I'm just not I'm not a fan, and I can't pretend to be. So Nashville gets that 31st spot on the overall list. Number 30, very generic, very generic. However, Florida wins the Stanley Cup with that "Go Cats Go" generic stuff, and so I guess we're stuck with it, right? Florida Panthers. It's just, I don't know. I guess if you're there in person, maybe you get riled up with that. And the teams picking generic music, you're gonna notice too. Some of them I say that the generic songs are a little better than others. But yeah, so Florida's number 30. Number 29, also with a bit of a generic one this year, Tampa Bay Lightning. So both Florida teams with kind of generic music that I'm not really a big fan of. And it's not like this is the interesting part too, because it's not like if I was there, if I'm there in person in Vancouver and "Don't You Forget About Me" starts, it's not like I'm, waving a cane in the air and yelling and screaming to turn that music down. It's just, this is just a list of where I would put these songs. I don't think that much about it. Number 28, and also with kind of a generic tune this year, the Anaheim Ducks. So while we're down in Anaheim this time around, there will not be an Anaheim Ducks game on. I would just hope that this wouldn't preclude us from going to an Anaheim Ducks game the next time that we're down there and they're playing at that same time. So this is 28 through 32. These are the ones that I'm like, all right, I can rank those. Then you get into the lower tier. And the lower tier, it really is just, in no particular order. Winnipeg. Um, it's kind of a fun tune. It's kind of a fun tune. So might be on the verge of being at that next tier. Just really close. I've never been a huge fan of song two, which is the Blur song that is used by the Ottawa Senators. Now, interestingly enough, the Buffalo Sabres have also used that on occasion this year, which kind of threw me off a little bit. Because when you're in Buffalo and song two starts up, I'm like, I wasn't aware Ottawa was playing. Let me just turn that a little bit, just to try to cut down on the glare on the sides of these here. But yeah, so Ottawa in that same area. Then you've got "Shake, Rattle, and Roll" for the Capitals. Now, the Capitals have also used goal songs for specific players. Buffalo has as well. There was a time where Vancouver did it too. "Shake, Rattle, and Roll's okay. It's okay. It just ends up in the lower tier in the overall picture of things. So, yeah, it puts them there. Also, in the lower tier, Utah. And for anybody who's asking what is the warning, that they're the best band going today. I stand by that. And if you haven't heard, Paulina, who's right here, who's singing the Dead Poets Society song "Hurt." What are you doing here? Go listen to that. It's fantastic. She knocks it out of the park. Anyways, Utah Hockey Club ends up in the lower tier for me as well. It's first year. Who knows? Maybe they'll come up with a really good goal song for year two. But for year one, there you go. Would that be song two then for them? Anyways, bad dad joke. Bad dad joke. Just forget I said it. Vegas ends up in this spot as well. But I will say this. I believe it's Panic at the Disco that they use for their goal song. Don't change from it. Don't change from it. And that's the interesting thing, too. I'm not necessarily saying teams need to change from what they use, because it could be part of their hook, like Nashville, like, I guess, Florida, now that they won a cup with that generic music. So Vegas, I'm not a huge fan of the song overall, but it is part of that Vegas experience. It's been their song since year one. I do believe they've used it their entire existence, so why not? New York Islanders end up in this spot as well. It's not bad. I do like the woo bit at the end of it. The woo bit at the end of it's kind of fun, but it just, yeah, they end up in the lower tier. Sadly, ending up in the lower tier is Detroit. Now, we had this discussion last year, and Detroit fans were like, they picked the most obnoxious part of Without Me by Eminem to annoy the other team. But it's your team that has to hear it more than 100 times in a year. The visiting teams might have to hear it like 6, 8, maybe 10. So if it's aggravating, it's probably not going to aggravate the opposition as much, since they're not going to be back every game to hear it. But Detroit, for 41 games a year, they're going to be hearing it. Ideally, if you're a Detroit fan, they're hearing it 41 games a year. If they're hearing it less than that, that means they're getting shut out. So Detroit, I'm not a big fan of the loop they picked for the song, because it is a fun song. Without Me is a very fun song, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. And anything Eminem and D12 as well, right? Detroit. San Jose. I've talked about San Jose for years. I remember when I started the hockey channel, I was watching all the games and being like, wait, that's their goal song still? How long has that been there? Like, San Jose's goal song is very techno. It's very dancey, I guess, for the children, but to me, I think there's a lot more fun songs, especially with the name Sharks. So, just me, though. Just me. Old man yelling at clouds, all that stuff. Buffalo. Now, I know that there's a lot of people who like Motley Crue. I know there's a lot of people who think Kickstart My Heart's a great song. I have never liked the song Kickstart My Heart. Ever. It is... And I have had Motley Crue albums. Although I really like the album they made that didn't have Vince Neil on it. Like, Misunderstood is still, to me, the best song from Motley Crue. This is where, if this was a live video in front of people, I'd be ducking things being thrown at me. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of Kickstart My Heart at all. I've never been a fan. So now we get to the next tier, which is just below the top 10. So the next tier, just below the top 10. St. Louis, I like the When the Saints Go Marching In, the transition into the other song as well. It's kind of fun. I also like the bell ding in there for, how many goals they get and all that fun stuff, especially when you get to like 7 or 8. As long as it's not against Dallas, Boston, or Vancouver, I'm pretty happy to hear the, bell, 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 bell. It's a fun feature. And so, yeah, St. Louis. And I believe with the Islanders, they add woos for each goal. So they're not the only one, but I think with the Islanders, they do that. Montreal, I'm also putting in that tier just outside the top 10. Montreal's goal song isn't bad. It's not bad. It's there. It does its work, and I don't think we'll see that one get changed either, because I have had that one for a while. It's been 5 or 6 years I think they've been using that one, so I don't think that one's going anywhere either. I'm a fan of the Rangers goal song. I think the Rangers have an excellent goal song for what it does. The game I'm watching today, we haven't heard it as of yet, but maybe at some point soon we'll hear it. But that puts the Rangers at that tier above the lower tier, just not quite in the top 10 range. The other team that seems to like the Rangers goal song is Phillies, because according to the video that, again, is going to be linked in the description when I'm done with this, very, very similar. They're very, very... So, yeah, Philly must like the Rangers goal song. I guess Danny Briere and Chris Drury talk, and it's like, can I borrow your goal song? Sure, I don't see why not. We played together. We could borrow songs together. Yeah, Philadelphia. And Philadelphia's had some great goal songs over the years, but right now they're just kind of in the middle. But I think they change it every year. So it'll get changed again. New Jersey gets into this as well. Another one that's got kind of a generic feel to it. The hey 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 part of it and all that. And I'm surprised again when listening to all these songs how many of them have hey 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 in it. So I guess if I ever write a song, I have to make sure I get enough haze in there that people are going to listen to it. But yeah, and then maybe it could be used by a hockey team. But yeah, New Jersey, I put them at that next tier. Again, just outside of the top 10. And since they're not in any necessarily in any order, well, that means that people don't necessarily know who was number 11. Maybe it was the Kings. I've always liked the Kings' music, and well, yes, that is a new magnet. Thanks for asking. I like it when people notice. Actually, there's a few new magnets on this board, but the LA Kings, it is a fun tune they use. It's kind of a generic one as well. Theirs is the one that to me sounds very similar to Riot by 3 Days Grace. Every time it starts up, I'll sort of hum Riot to myself. So it's a fun song, and thanks for making me think of that every now and then. Minnesota also gets in there. The Minnesota Wild, I do enjoy Shout. I think that's a fun little song. Doesn't quite make it into the top 10, but Shout's kind of a fun one. It's definitely one the kids like, and that is part of it with a goal song. I think for a good goal song, it should be one that kids can kind of dance to and enjoy, fans can chant along with, and just something that's kind of energetic, fun. Looking at you, Canucks. Should be a fun song that you can kind of dance to, and it's not from 1984. So, unless it's Panama from 1984. All right, Colorado. I've seen Colorado at the bottom of some lists with people's choices of which songs they like that are goal songs. I think Colorado's is fine. I do. I think Colorado's is fine. The hey, hey, hey part that they pick from that song is kind of catchy. So I don't think Colorado's is as bad as I've seen some people rate it. So yeah, they're in that next tier. So now we get into the top 10. This is where it gets kind of fun. Number 10 is Panama. Toronto Maple Leafs switching to Panama. Excellent song for a goal song. While I wasn't a huge fan of Van Halen, they had some very good songs. Panama's one of them. It's not All Wait. All Wait, I think, was the best song from that album. But I'm old, so I remember 1984. And I remember not being as enamored with Jump. I'm glad they didn't pick Jump. I'm glad they picked Panama. Panama, I think, is the superior song. Leave all your hate comments for my musical tastes in the comment section below. It's greatly appreciated. I'll take it all under advisement. Number 9, Edmonton. Edmonton's song is fun. Edmonton's goal song is fun. Obviously, it's not fun when they're scoring against Vancouver with it, but it's a fun goal song. I can't say anything negative about Edmonton's goal song. I think they're fine with it. Number 8, and I got to admit, it's the funkiness. It is the funkiness of the Canes goal song that I appreciate. I think it's unique. Amongst all this sea of goal songs you have up here, the Canes stand out. So if I'm watching games and I hear that a goal scored, that song tells me, all right, yeah. And it's very distinct. Just a couple of notes. I'm like, all right, so Carolina. Some of these are not necessarily quite as distinct. But yeah, the Carolina one it's a fun goal song. Number 6 is after this one. This one's number 7. I caught myself. Columbus. For those about to rock, I'm old. AC/DC. And it transitions as well into the oh, all that. Because if you're going to have haze, you got to have the O's. I'm turning into that Jamie Foxx commercial. I have to stop. I think I owe MGM money if I keep going down that route. I went with Rude. I went with combination of both. Now Bobby Roode's going to come walking in. So yeah, Columbus, number 7, wrestling reference for the win. So Columbus, I think, has a very fun goal song. I've always been a big fan of AC/DC, which again is a band that some of their stuff in between the old stuff and the new stuff was kind of like, it might be time to turn it in. But some of the new stuff's really fun. But for those about to rock, that's one of the older ones. Number 6, shouldn't surprise people too much. Boston. The Boston Bruins, number 6. When Zombie Nation kicks in, it's a fun song. And I always make a remark anytime that Zombie Nation is played in a different arena during a different game. I'll say, wow, I didn't expect Boston to show up. This is going to be interesting. The Bruins are going to hit the ice. We're going to have 3 hockey teams. This is going to be great. I just pictured it as like a wrestling run-in. I'm such a nerd. But yeah, number 6. Wouldn't that be interesting during a hockey game? It's just so boring that Gary Bettman's like, get a different team out there. This is boring. He does a whole Vince McMahon thing. Anyway, yeah, Boston Bruins, number 6. Number 5. Remember, I do love AC/DC, and TNT is a great song. TNT is when they switched to that song, I was like, yeah, that's Calgary. That works. That's Flames. It works. TNT, absolutely. That is the perfect song for Calgary. So the Flames should never change that goal song. I don't think they ever should. There's a team I can think of used to use, Holiday. It's a pretty good song. And then it went away. Number 4, Party Hard. Pittsburgh. Andrew WK. Andrew WK, I respect the guy. I think he's a good singer. I liked most of the songs of his that I heard over the years. And so Pittsburgh using Andrew WK, good call. Party Hard is a really fun song. That again, it's got you can kind of sing along with it. You can dance to it. It's got everything you're looking for in a goal song. Number 3. Always bothers some people, when I mention Chelsea Dagger, and I'm complimentary of it. Chelsea Dagger's been Chicago's goal song for how long? It's been a long time. And it's still remarkable how much it does upset people to hear it. Certain fan bases don't like to hear it. But it's a fun song, to the point where when Chicago's on the road and they score, I start humming it to myself. Because I know it's not like they're going to take that song on the road with them. Although if you had one of them with a boombox raised and playing it from the bench, I'd be okay with that. That might actually be kind of fun. So Chicago, number 3 on the list. Everybody in disagreement? Right. It's the internet. Of course they are. Number 2. Seattle. The interesting thing is, Nirvana is not a band I liked when I was in high school. It was not one of my favorites. I liked Pearl Jam. I did not like Nirvana. I was okay with Soundgarden. Nirvana wasn't one of my favorites. But it is probably one of the best matches of song to fan base to team. Lithium works. The Let's Go Kraken part they put in the middle might be considered sacrilegious by some of the Nirvana fans out there, but it's fun. It's fun, and Nirvana was never really known as a fun band. Not there. You don't ever say I'm in a good mood today because I listened to that Nirvana album. Man, that's some happy stuff they got going on there. Same as like Linkin Park, and nobody uses Linkin Park. What's up with that? So, anyways, number 2 is Seattle, which brings us to number 1. Number 1 should surprise nobody because it's Dallas. That Pantera, that hits hard. I absolutely love it. I think that Pantera track, when it hits, it's fun. There's a Dallas fan who's currently speaking to you on camera who might every now and then get kind of, excited. That song hits and, stomps around the room to the beat of that song. And says under his breath, Dallas Stars, Dallas Stars. But I won't name who it is because it'd be kind of silly for him to admit it out loud. But it is my favorite of the goal songs. And it's not... See, I want to say, I wanted to put them 3rd because I was like, maybe it's my favorite because I root for Dallas, but I don't think so. It's fun. It's got that metal bit to it. That's part of the reason I'm wearing the warning, because I like hard rock / metal and all that. And it fits right into what I would normally be listening to, and it's Pantera. Who wouldn't like Pantera? My wife doesn't like Pantera, but nobody's perfect, right? Anyways, there you go. Thank you guys so much for all your support as always. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as well. And if you haven't already hit like and subscribe, please do. With that being said, I'll talk to you again soon.